As a former regulator and commodities trader, in particular a bank examiner, I'm wondering what you make of the role of a trading operation like Mt.Gox in Bitcoin.
Right. So it's not even a trading operation, no controls. It's a mess. And clearly what this it represents to the market that, hey, are there other exchanges out there in Bitcoin world which are run this way? I mean, these standards were really low, and customers, unfortunately, lost lots of money.
Mark, let me ask you further. I mean, as a bank examiner, which is something you've done in the past, I wonder what kinds of specific legal protections or legal requirements banks have that are different than what these kinds of exchanges have that might have served as a model for such exchanges like Mt.Gox.
Right. So the banks themselves, they have a control system. So they have internal policies and procedures. They have external auditors that come in. And they also have regulators that come in and actually fine them if they're not complying with these high standards. Compare that to what we have in Bitcoin world. So in a sense, in Bitcoin world, we have exchanges, many of them with different level of standards. We also see specifically that there's no control environment in place. You know, we had cyber hackers come in for, now we learn, up to 2 years to steal these coins. Not only do they steal customer coins, but they stole actually 100,000 coins specifically from the owner of Gox.
Mark, what do you think is the likelihood that these people are ever going to get their money back? I mean, there is no regulation. There are no laws. So why should they?
Right, and that's really the sad story here. There's no consumer protection whatsoever. And without that consumer protection, these investors could lose everything. And I think most probably they have lost everything. In essence, this coin itself is untraceable from a standpoint that, you know, once these transactions are done, they're irreversible. It's anonymous. So clearly, it's hard to track down the culprits, the criminals, and then it's, of course, hard to get the money back.
It also seems, Mark, to me that I looked at the lawsuit Greg Green filed against Mt.Gox, and I'm not a lawyer by any means, but it seems that establishing standing, right, which is the most basic legal principle in the sort of the first hurdle that any suit has to go through, is virtually impossible here because of the way Bitcoin is designed, so that there is no sort of location in place for such a currency.
That's correct, and there's no legal structure over the top of it, as well as any sort of regulation over it. So the chance of basically getting money back is quite low. You know, what's very interesting about this whole story is the fact that this is really Bitcoin's being tested in the real world. And although the protocol is claimed to be very strong, the infrastructure around the protocol, that is those industries that support the structure, appear to be weak. And so that chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and that's what we see with Mt.Gox.
You know, and Mark, I guess maybe I mean I don't really care about the guy that lost the money because I'm a mean person. I don't really care about people at all. But I do care about the sort of structure. Right. Like, to me, this points out the issue, the risk with Bitcoin and how it's different than other things because of its anonymity is what makes it attractive. But I feel like that it creates an inherent risk within the product. Can it ever get away from that inherent risk?
Well, I think three things have to happen. It has to be regulated. There has to be a high standard set, because this currency is nationless. So if it's going to be nationless, it has to be a global high standard. And I think, thirdly, we've got to get away from these anonymous coins. In essence, if not, you know, look what's happened here, right? Criminals were very efficient and very fast at transferring the value, you know, without the customers even knowing. And now the customers have zero ability to get that money back.